Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We're not just looking at the Quran itself, but at how a modern commentary, a tafsir, breaks down its epic, sweeping argument for God, for a final judgment, and for a universe that actually has a purpose. We're digging into the logical framework it says is holding the whole thing together.
All right, so how are we going to tackle this? We've broken it down into 5 key stages. It all kicks off with some pretty unsettling news. Then, it dives headfirst into a world of doubt. From there, it lays out what it calls proof that's hiding in plain sight. That proof leads to 2 very different destinies. And finally, it all wraps up by framing the entire message as a crucial reminder for all of us.
You know, every great argument needs a launch pad, right? A starting point. And for this one, it's a single, disruptive claim, a piece of news so unsettling it ignites the entire conversation that followed.
Now, before we go any further, it's super important to understand our source here. We're looking at all of this through the lens of what's called a tafsir. Think of it as a detailed commentary that's not just translating, but really unpacking the verses, trying to get to the logical structure of how the text builds its case from the ground up.
So here it is, the core proclamation, what the text itself calls the great news. It's simple, but it's massive. There is only one God, and a day of judgment is absolutely certain to come. Now, you have to imagine, at the time this was revealed, this was an incredibly radical idea, a direct challenge to the beliefs of the whole society.
So, when you drop a bombshell like that into the world, what's the first, most natural human reaction? Right, doubt, skepticism. And as we're about to see, the argument totally anticipates this, expecting to meet a world steeped in disbelief.
And this is where the commentary's analysis gets really interesting from a psychological standpoint. It suggests that the opposition wasn't just a simple, "I don't believe you." It was deeper. It was this need people had to rationalize their disbelief, to make it seem like their rejection was based on solid, genuine reasons, not just bias or stubbornness.
And what were these so-called genuine reasons? Well, they kind of threw everything at the wall. You had personal attacks, calling the messenger a sorcerer and a liar. You had theological objections, like, hey, if God really wanted to send a message, why not send angels? They even questioned his social status. And of course, they brought up the ultimate skeptical question. How on earth can you bring our ancestors back to life?
But here's the pivot. The response to all this isn't to get into a point-by-point debate. Instead, it shifts the focus entirely, claiming the real issue isn't intellectual, it's spiritual. It uses this really powerful metaphor of rust, the idea that a person's own actions can literally build up a coating on their heart, making it impossible to see the truth, no matter how clearly it's presented.
So, if you're up against this wall of doubt, and debating isn't the answer, what do you do? Well, the argument switches gears completely. It doesn't use abstract philosophy. Instead, it just points. It points to the world all around us and inside of us, and says the evidence has been there the whole time, hiding in plain sight.
So first up, the Earth. The argument asks us to stop seeing it as just a random rock spinning in space and to see it as a cradle, a place that's been meticulously prepared, made stable and comfortable, perfectly designed for life to exist.
Then you've got the mountains. They're described as these massive pegs, as if they've been hammered deep into the earth to provide stability, to keep it from shaking violently. Again, the point here is to suggest a sign of deliberate, purposeful design.
The argument then pulls the lens back to look at this bigger principle, the idea of pairs, night and day, male and female, dark and light. This whole system of opposites that complement each other is presented as yet another sign of a unified, intelligent system at work.
And then the argument gets really personal. It turns the focus inward to what it presents as the most undeniable piece of evidence of all. You, your own existence. The incredible journey from a seemingly insignificant drop of fluid into a complex, conscious, thinking human being.
And finally, there's the evidence from history. The argument points to the ruins of these powerful ancient civilizations, the Ad, the Thamud, the pharaohs in Egypt, and basically says, look, there's a pattern here. It argues that rebellion, arrogance, and denial have consistently led to the same outcome.
So you see, all of these proofs, from the cosmos, from your own body, from the pages of history, they aren't just presented as a random list of facts. They're all framed as a series of questions,
all designed to funnel your thinking towards one single inevitable conclusion.
And that conclusion, the end of this long chain of evidence, leads directly to a verdict. It's a fork in the road, a point where the path of accepting the great news and the path of rejecting it split off into two incredibly different outcomes.
And the imagery used to paint a picture of these two destinies couldn't be more stark. On one side, for the righteous, you have gardens, pure wine, reclining on thrones. On the other, for the wrongdoers, you have fetters, fire, choking food, and this terrifying image of a shadow made of pitch-black smoke. The contrast is just absolute.
And all of this culminates in this dramatic, complete reversal of fortunes.
The commentary highlights this verse, which suggests that the very people who were mocked for their beliefs in this life will, in the end, be the ones looking on from a position of total peace and security.
So after everything, the cosmic proofs, the lessons from history, the vivid warnings of what's to come, the entire massive argument funnels down to this: one number, two paths, two destinies, and it all comes down to a single choice.
But why? Why build this whole elaborate cosmic case in the first place? What's the ultimate point of all the proofs and all the warnings? This final section of the commentary gets right to the very core of why the message is being delivered at all. And at the absolute heart of it all is this concept of Tawheed, the indivisible oneness of God. According to the commentary, this isn't just one belief among many, it's the central idea, the foundation that's supposed to make sense of all the other evidence. It's the key that gives the entire universe meaning and purpose.
And this is crucial. The message isn't framed as new, secret information. It's called a reminder. And that single word, the commentary argues, is a game changer. It shifts all the responsibility onto the individual. The path has been shown, but the choice to actually walk it, well, that's entirely up to you.
So this entire cosmic drama, from beginning to end, is framed as a kind of test. You can see it laid out here. Humanity is created from a humble origin. You're given the tools to understand the world, hearing, sight, intellect, and then you're clearly shown the two paths. But the final, most critical step is freedom. The choice to be grateful or ungrateful is left entirely in your hands.
And this brings us to our final, really thought-provoking question. If the whole point of this grand message is to be a reminder, it implies that we already know this stuff somewhere deep down. So what does it really mean to be reminded of something you never knew you were supposed to remember? It leaves you wondering about the very nature of human consciousness and about the possibility of a truth that we're all somehow born already knowing.